Hey good people, how y'all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in to yet another video. Today we're going to be talking about Love Marriage Huntsville season 6 episode 15. You guys, this episode was really entertaining to me. I loved all of the aspects of the episode, just seeing these entrepreneurs talk about their business, seeing, of course, the drama. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good episode, and I am so excited for when September rolls around because we're going to be seeing what's going on with this Kiki situation. We've seen the previews. Apparently, she's throwing water or whatever she had in her hand in Tisha's face. She allegedly might have shoplifted. Kimi and Maurice are talking about their love life and what we all suspected about Maurice and how he feels about Kimi. It's a lot going on, so I'm really looking forward to September when they return. But without further ado, let's jump right into this video. We are at the Black Expo, and Stormi and Marsau are having words. Marsau gonna walk his behind over to Stormi, asking her for $100. Now, my thing is this. Why are you asking her for this money the day of? And how come it wasn't told to her that she needed to provide you with this money prior to the day of? You understand what I'm saying? Because I feel like, say what you want about Stormi. I know a lot of people don't like her. Stormi don't bother me. She really don't. I think that she's a better addition to the show than Destiny. And she's definitely, to me, a better addition than Lewis and Tiffany. That's my opinion. So I know that she has a lot of haters and people who don't like her. However, what Marsau did is just bad business. And I know a lot of people want to say, well, this was their first expo and they don't know and this, that, and the third. No, you know the right way to do things and the wrong way. And you know asking this woman for this money that she was unaware of was the wrong thing to do. So I completely side with Stormi in her reaction to Marsau because, you know, he could be a little condescending, a little slick with the mouth, and he needs somebody to be able to match that energy. And Stormi is the girl for the job. I have never seen anybody, with the exception of Melody, somewhat put Marsau in check the way that she did during this little segment that they had here. And like I said, I feel like she's 100% right. You should have told her about this beforehand. And why are you crying over $100 when before you were getting upset with Melody for asking if there was going to be a speaker fee for the people who were participating in the expo? So make it make sense. And I'm also looking at Tisha crazy too, because she's going to sit there and act like she didn't know what went down between Stormi and Marsau. Now, let me tell you something. She might not have known how her husband approached Stormi, but she knows who her husband is and how he is with women. Number one. Number two, she knew he was going to go over there and say something to her, even though she suggested to him that he not do that. So she trying to come in and act like she's oblivious to the whole thing that happened oblivious to what he was going to be saying to Stormi is crazy to me. Mind you, you saw how Stormi responded and how she acted. Now, if that was my husband, right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm not going to just let you talk to him like that. So, of course, I'm going to have something to say to you. But Tisha just sat there. Mum was the word. So I don't want to hear the next day later that you're upset with Stormi in the way that she spoke to your husband, or you didn't like the way that she spoke to your husband because you didn't have anything to say to her in the moment. And another thing, a lot of people want to say, well, this was a business deal or whatever. Stormi should have conducted herself appropriately. Listen, as far as I saw when this whole thing went down, there were no other people from the outside there. It was the rest of the businesses that were there setting up. For all I know, it was probably just Stormi setting up, although I don't think that's the case. But I'm saying for all I know, it was just her and them. But there were no like regular people like you and I there ready to go buy some of Stormi's hair products or anything like that. So this was before the whole thing started. That's my point. So I'm not really worried about how she said what she said, because he was being slick in one way, and apparently Stormi only knows one way to be slick back. So I'm not mad at sis. I'm really not. Let's move right along. Miss Kimi is the MVP of the episode. The fact that she showed up to the expo right after having chemo and showed up looking like that, Yes, ma'am. You would not know just looking at her all of the things that she's been through. You would not know just looking at her that she just came from chemo. So kudos to her and shame on Tisha and Marsau for putting her in the back corner of the venue. Number one, she's a Scot. Number two, you know she's just coming off of her chemo treatments. So why not have her in the front of the room where she could just go in, do her thing, and that be that? Why would y'all put her all the way in the back in the corner? Almost as if she was an afterthought. I don't think that that's cool. I feel like Marcel and Tisha have this thing when it comes to Maurice and Kimi where they feel like, in my opinion, from what I've seen, like they're a little bit better or they do things better than them. I don't know. They have a little rivalry is what I'm trying to say. And I just didn't think it was right to have her all the way in the back corner. Not cool at all. Martel having his brother come to the expo, and I thought it was so funny that he's up there talking with the people about how his brother can get an LLC started when I feel like he needed the education, not his brother. Like, why you got your brother? Why you want to sign your brother up for this? You need help. The fact that he wasn't showcasing, what is it, Inez wine there was crazy to me as well, talking about, well, there's other wines and I want them to have their exposure too. Sir, those people are your competition. What you mean you want them to have exposure too? You're supposed to be promoting your wine, like Maurice said, every chance you get. This is a perfect opportunity for you to promote your wine. Who cares how many pop-ups you've done in Huntsville? This is not a pop-up. This is not a solo thing. If you have a product, sir, you need to be showcasing your product. And another thing, what's going on with these suits that he was supposed to do? Has anybody heard anything about that? When Melody does arrive and she sees Martel's brother, I thought that was such a moment for her. You know what I'm saying? Just to see her get emotional over seeing him and everything. And I guess she was replaying in her mind the good times that they had when she was still married to Martel. You could tell, like, obviously these two, Martel and Melody, were married for love. They loved each other. She was entangled in his family, as I'm sure he was in hers. And it's just sad to see, and a reminder of where they are today. But you could see that Melody has love for his brother and his brother has love for her. And they know the type of person that Martel is. Now, when Melody's brother showed up with Melody, of course, he and Martel had a moment to talk, and Martel kind of said something like, well, I hope that I have your support. I hope that I'll have your support. And her brother was like, what are you talking about, my support? Like, you think I'm going to support you and how you treat my sister? Absolutely not. But Martel was saying, just support the fact that we're doing well or whatever the situation is. I thought that for the most part, Melody's brother can be shady, but I mean, do we blame him? Look at all the stuff that Martel tried to put him through before, talking about his sexuality and how that might affect his kids and this, that, and the third. Like, dude, that's just not okay, especially to be doing on national TV. But anywho, I don't think that her brother owes him any loyalty, just as I don't think that his brother owes Melody any loyalty as well. But I thought it was very interesting because Martel tries to put on this whole, he's a cool, laid-back dude, don't really do nothing, don't really bother nobody. But when he got into that confessional and started airing out his grievances about Melody's brother, I was like, okay, now here is the real Martel Holt. Y'all go back and watch the things that he said in that confessional and just watch how he just completely turned into this whole other person. And tell me that's not problematic. Tell me that's not the person that Melody has been talking about him being for however long. Okay, we've seen it right then and there. Sidebar, I will say this about Martel because I have to give him some positivity. That man know how to wear a suit. I mean, the suit that he wore, just his suits in general, are very tailored to him. He looks, out of all of the guys on the show, he looks best dressed in a suit. He just knows how to wear a suit. I'm hoping that something comes about this whole suit business that he's trying to do, but we'll have to wait and see. Moving right along, let's talk about Tiffany and Lewis, and Tiffany kind of insinuating that Tisha told her last minute about the event and then they wanted her to speak. At first, I was about to be Team Tiffany. Now, let me just let y'all know this. I don't really rock with Tiffany at all. I find her most times to be less than smart. The things that come out of her mouth and this, that, and the third. But this episode, I was like, you know what? Tiffany has a couple of points here. And then I had to go back and rewatch. And I saw that, no, girl, Tisha told you about this expo the same time that she told Stormi. So if Stormi can turn around and pull it together, so could you have if you wanted to be a part of it. Not to mention that they also show the flashback where she's telling Marsau that the doctor put her on bed rest. So if you're on bed rest, how are you going to be able to participate in the expo? So you were kind of at that point, hate to say it, but an afterthought as it related to this Black Expo. So no, girl, they didn't tell you last minute. You don't have a point with that. So I don't really know, Tiffany, girl. Like, make it make sense. I'm gonna need you to give some more of an explanation when the reunion comes about. Moving right along, let's just go back really quick to the whole Kimi coming after having chemo treatment. I didn't like how nonchalant, and I'm not trying to be nitpicky or anything like that, but I don't like how nonchalant Maurice was like, well, you know, she's just on the tail end of everything, so she'll be perfectly fine. Like, no, sir, how about call your wife and make sure she's okay? Don't speak for her. You don't know what she's going through. You don't know where her body is, how her body is going to respond this particular day. I just thought he was very nonchalant when he was talking to Tisha, and she was kind of concerned, like, is Kimi going to come? Is she okay? How is she going to be after chemo? He was just giving me like, she's fine, everything is fine, don't worry about it, she's just gonna do what she has to do. Like, although she did do what she had to do, I did not like his response. I just didn't. Moving on, we see that Martel did not want to come on the stage with the rest of the people. He wanted to sit this one out when he realized that Mel wasn't joining them on the stage. And I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out, and maybe you guys can help me out. What did Melody not speaking have to do with you, Martel? Like, what did it have to do with you, sir? Who cares that she decided she didn't want to speak? How does that stop what you're doing? Can you not do anything on your own? Now, I know a lot of people say that Melody was the brains behind their brand and everything that they were doing. And it has been clear over the last 3 years that she has been, because aside from Inez wine, which I don't think you can buy anywhere, Martel has really done absolutely nothing. And everything that he's attempted to do, he's been less than successful at. So obviously she was the brains, but I guess she was also his crutch as well. Like, dude, you mean to tell me you just can't sit on the stage and smile here and there? Like, really, they wasn't going to be asking you many questions anyway. Turns out during the Q&A, he was the one walking around with the mic, letting the people talk into the mic. So I'm like, just do that. Like, but why do you feel like you didn't want to be a part of it because Melody wasn't on the stage? That was weird to me. Stormi and her husband have a conversation, and I was a little confused with Courtney because I felt like a part of the reason why he didn't want to have another baby with Stormi is because he kind of felt like he didn't have his dad, and what happens if, he and Stormi didn't work out. This is the vibe I was getting when he was talking to his mom the last episode. So what happens if he and Stormi don't work out and they have now 2 children and they're both living in a household where their dad is not there? But it turns out that he told Stormi, which he did mention as well to his mom, if I'm not mistaken, that he was really scared and felt a certain type of way when she had their first child and all of the stuff that she went through. Apparently there was a lot of blood, and the doctors were, constantly cleaning up blood and dumping it and cleaning it up and dumping it. And he did not want her to have to go through that experience again. So with that being said, I completely understand where he was coming from, that he did not want her to carry, but he is open to them having a surrogate. Now, I don't know if he's really, really open to them having a surrogate, or if he's saying that right now just to kind of pacify her and move on. Time will tell, but I hope that they can both agree on what they want to do, if they want to expand their family or not. Stormi kind of trying to tell him what was going on with Marsau. He was tired, y'all. He just came back from New York shipping all that stuff. They had issues at the warehouse, so brother was just going through overall. It did not look like he was really interested in the whole Marsau drama, until Stormi says, so you gonna talk to him about it? And then he was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna talk to him about it because that just wasn't right. And we see in the September preview that he and Marsau will have a sit down. And I'm gonna tell you this straight up. Courtney don't look like no dude you want to play around with. He just don't, okay? Like, he looked like Yeah, not this man. Play with somebody else, not me. Okay, so it's gonna be really interesting to see how that whole conversation goes down between him and Marsau. Tiffany decides she wants to bring all of the ladies minus Mel together to kind of talk about what happened with the Black Expo, and as she puts it, give Tisha some constructive criticism. Not that, like, what makes you really qualified to do that other than you sitting in the audience. I don't know. But if that's what you want to do, because you always have something to say about somebody, go on ahead. So they're sitting down at a restaurant, and she goes into this whole thing about how, like I said earlier, she did not feel like Tisha included her in the whole comeback group situation. And that's the thing, too, that really confuses me. Is this a comeback group initiative or not? Because y'all are calling it the Black Expo, but then you sat at the table and said, well, we don't know if we want to do in the comeback group or whatever it was that she was saying. She mentioned the comeback group. So my thing is, girl, is it a comeback group endeavor? Is that what y'all trying to do? Because it certainly is a comeback group idea, or what? You gonna need to stick with one thing and just keep it as that. It's either the Black Expo or it's the comeback group. I'm confused. But anyway, she was basically saying, I didn't try to single you out. I gave you the notice, blah, 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 blah. Kimi was getting on my last nerve. I know that Kimi is a fan favorite, but in this scene, she was getting on my last nerve because she just kept interrupting Tiffany, not letting her finish talking. And I just didn't understand, like, Kimi, let the woman talk. What's wrong with you? Like, when Kimi does stuff like that, I can't really rock with her. It's like, girl, you got to be able to let people talk. But anywho, Stormi and Tisha, they get into it because, of course, Stormi, I'm going to tell you why I think that they really got into it. When Tisha kind of said, listen, I didn't like the way that you talked to my husband, and I'm not trying to tell you that how to talk to somebody or how to feel, but I felt like you were disrespectful, and the fact that you said it at this event, I thought it was very unprofessional, blah, 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 blah. That's where she went left. When she went in that whole spiel of, I thought it was disrespectful, I can't tell you how to feel or how to respond, but you don't say that and then say but. It's either you feel like you can tell her how to respond or you can't. That's what really got under Stormi's skin, if you ask me. Now, it's debatable if y'all feel like Stormi responded in the right way or the wrong way, because honestly, Tisha was not coming at her like rah, rah, rah. She just wasn't. And Tisha's really not that girl anyway. I don't care what she sat up there and said, talking about if you had the old me, I would have jumped across the table. I don't know that to be her. I only know what we see with her today. However, I feel like Stormi definitely put Tisha in her place a little bit, but I also feel like Tisha got a couple of jabs in as well. I think it was not equal, because I feel like Stormi read her up and down. Like, you definitely won't be talking to Courtney like that. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but she was just letting Tisha know, like, nah, you wouldn't have spoken to Courtney like that. You know what I'm saying? And regardless, like I said earlier, if Tisha knew how Marsau said what he said, she still knew the delivery. She still knew what he was going there to tell her. And if she can the next day say, listen, I didn't agree with him telling you or asking you for that or whatever, if she can say that the next day, then she certainly could have said that to Stormi initially when Marsau and her were at the expo and they called her over. That's just my opinion. Should Stormi have reacted the way that she reacted? I mean, that's who Stormi is. Like, she already showed us and told us who she was, so that's just how she handles things. She was upset, and like I said, I feel like the way that Tisha was going about what she was saying was really what upset her. I think Tisha should have just said, listen, I didn't like the way that you spoke to my husband, but I understand that you were upset because of X, Y, and Z. And really, that's the point that she was trying to make. But when she threw in the whole, I can't tell you how to feel, but you shouldn't have did this, that, and the third because it's not professional. You talk about always being professional. Like, don't do that, because now you're trying to low-key come for her a little bit. That's my opinion. You guys let me know what you thought about this episode. Are y'all excited to see them come back in September? Tell me what's the tea. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.